Yo, 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 yo! What's going on, chat? This is Dr. Shon back with another live video. Welcome to the Hood to Hood podcast. So first, let's get a mic check, mic check, mic check. How y'all feeling today? Check the vibes. You always know I am sending you positive vibes. And as you can see from the title, this topic isn't for everybody, but this topic is for us who need to discuss a lot going on in this country today. Hard pill to swallow, but I feel like it must be said. So, if you're ready to dive in tonight, come on in, tap those hearts, like, share, let's engage, and let's talk about some real shit. You know what I'm saying? So, hello, Clifford 2000 fan. I'm from Richmond, Virginia, and I'm brushing tonight. Yes, if you woke up and brushed and flossed your teeth today, pump me some hearts on whatever platform you're on. We are streaming from a couple different places today. So shout out to TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Kick, and Twitch. If you are trying to catch me live, I am live every day on Twitch. I am switching my time to the daytime because the nighttime has not been working for me. Clifford 2000 says generational curses. My dad used to preach about this in church. Yes, generational curses are real. That's why this Hood to Hooded podcast exists, so that we can go from where? Hood to hooded. Okay? So I got a lot to dig into tonight. I'm talking about tonight because I'm used to going live at night. I have a lot to dig into this afternoon. So come on in, grab you a little drink, and let's talk about some real shit, okay? So I say yo to all my Niiji out there. I say yo to all my melanated, beautiful kings and queens, to my Niiji around the world. And hello to everyone, all mankind, if you're kind. I have not watched that. I am from Florida. So questions coming through the chat. I am from Tallahassee, Florida. Born and raised in the county of Leon. Alright? So tonight's broadcast is called Racism is Expensive. Do y'all believe that or not? It's the death of the 9 to 5 in the American dream. So that's what this broadcast is titled. And I got a lot of stuff to go over. What is Niiji? So Niiji, it just describes the indigenous melanated people from Turtle Island whose identity has been reclassified into Black and African American. So Niiji means my friend, my brother, my sister. Alright? So this is day 25 of my consistency project. I'm not quitting, I'm pivoting, so that's why my time is a little different. What is Turtle Island? Turtle Island is synonymous with America. So just like, so Trump recently changed the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. So Turtle Island is what the Niiji, the Aborigine, called America as like a slang term back in the day. So Turtle Island, Niiji, all of this is like indigenous language. Asiyo means hello. So yeah. So welcome to day 25 of the Hood to Hooded Consistency Project. I am your host, Dr. Shon, and today we are cutting the fluff, okay? The theme is racism is expensive and the 9 to 5 hustle ain't it anymore. Like, if you're doing it and you love it, that's cool. But a lot of people are working 9 to 5, working 2 to 3 jobs, and it's just what happened to the American dream. I remember the American dream that they posted when I was a kid, the house with the white picket fence, and you know, you work the 9 to 5 and you have this beautiful life. And what happened to all of that? That expired, obviously. This year we can really see how much that expired. And the truth is that we aren't lazy. We are just tired of surviving versus living. Who else feels like they just living versus thriving? Living your best life. You know what I mean? On the Clifford, too. So that's what we're just talking about today. So if you feel exhausted, overwhelmed, sad, even jealous, strolling through social media while working 2 to 3 jobs just to pay rent, this episode is for you. Okay, my Niiji? This episode is for you. So let's dive into our first segment of the night. Alright? So before we get into this picture right here, which is a picture from when Madam C.J. Walker was a millionaire. It may be a little bit after, or when she was, doing her thing back in the late 1800s and the 1900s. Okay? And before we get into this, I want to do a rent math wake up call, because a lot of people are stuck in this, paycheck to paycheck lifestyle just from rent alone nowadays. Rent is skyrocketing, inflation is out of control, taxes are out of control, everything's out of control. Pretty much we might be in a recession, guys, headed towards a depression. Every time I get on to YouTube, that's all I see is fear, news, everywhere. Like, it's everywhere. It's like, hey, we need to stock up on seeds. We need to stock up on food. We're gonna run out of food. The shelves are gonna be empty. I don't know if it's fear or what, but I like to kind of listen when it's like being said over and over again. So I really wanted to dive into this and see the truth about what's going on. All right, so let's break down the math of rent and how it can make you enslaved to the system. So say your rent is $1,250 per month, right? So just think about 1 year of paying $1,250 per month, which we know it's a lot more than that nowadays. A lot of people are paying $2,000 or $1,500. So I just put an average number that I thought people would be paying. If you're in New York City, it's a lot higher. If you're in New York, it's a lot higher. And there's a homeless crisis going on. So when we talk about going from hood to hood, the hood starts with homelessness. It starts with poverty. It starts with paycheck to paycheck. It starts with inequality with the educational system, miseducation. It starts with financial discrepancies and inequality with pay. I did a video, our stream last week, we talked about the average melanated household brings in around 17,000 a year. The average Caucasian household brings in about 117,000 a year. So there's a big discrepancy. So there's a lot going on. So racism is very expensive, and I think this country has came to a point where it's impacting everybody. Just like last year, MAGA voted for Trump because they wanted to be better. They wanted, they knew these things that he was going to do, and they still voted him in. You know what I mean? And now that he's here making all these changes, the farmers voted for him in 2000. The government had to bail them out $200 billion of our tax money. And now here they are again needing bailout, and he cut it all off, and now the farmers are crying. They can't ship anything to China because they were getting grants after grants. So 100,000 farms, they say, are going down. And how does this benefit the American people? You know what I mean? Because you guys voted for him. He's now erasing everything, and people feeling it. I've had a couple talks with some people, and they feel like, okay, Trump is a businessman. He's going to make a deal, or he's going to do this. But at some point, it is definitely going to impact all of us in ways we cannot imagine. So the racism of voting him in last year, the racism that people use to make these decisions is expensive. Do you see how expensive it is? These tariffs, they are expensive. And for the longest, they said, oh, the tariffs, it's not going to affect the people. China has to pay. This country has to pay. But when we saw Amazon attempt to put the price of the tariff versus the real price, oh, that was an act of tyranny. That was an act of injustice towards the government. But my thing is, the government is commits injustices every day towards its own people. It says these tariffs Donald Trump is putting out is a shit show. I think that's what you meant. Racism not only expensive, it's just flat out stupid. People need to learn to be respectful of other people no matter what race and treat them fairly. I wish that was true. Even as a provider, a healthcare provider, when I walk out of my practice, take off the white coat, I'm just a igga. You know what I mean? I don't want to get flagged on here, so I'm just a igga. If the cops get behind me, I'm just a igga. Now, a lot of times I can get out of it. Hey, cop, I'm a dentist in this community. They'll leave me alone. But a lot of people can't say that. And a lot of cops probably don't even care. It can make them either like, okay, I respect you, or now I really don't like you because you made it out. Either way. And I come from a city, Tallahassee, Florida, where racism is so prevalent. And every time I go home, I am in awe. I'm baffled by the amount of police presence on every corner, every street. It's like, geez, this is not living. This is not breathing. So to get off of work, working 2 to 3 jobs, and then to have that a part of it, it's stupid. And I wish that people would be respected, but that's just not how it goes. You're the third person I know who used the term melanated. The first was somebody from church. The second was Lamont from Sanford and Son in an interview. And now you, yes, melanin. Powerful, powerful pigment that we possess. Very, very powerful. We not talk about melanin today because I know a lot about melanin and I do talk about it a lot. Today, I really want to talk about racism and how expensive it is. And we see how expensive it is for this country. Everybody suffers from this. Before, in the past, a select group of people didn't suffer. But for the melanated Niiji, we suffered. 400-500 years since colonization has took over Turtle Island, or America, as most people know. We have been suffering. And it's terrible. So that's why I want to go into this today and break down some things for you. So back to the math of the rent. So rent, $12.50 per month. So in a year, if you paying this for rent, just think about how much money you are spending every year by not being an owner, by not having assets or land. Okay? So we gonna give me just a second. I wanna So let's just think about it. So 1 year, if you paying $12.50 per month, that's $15,000 per month you are paying to someone else to pay off their property so that they can, increase their assets. But you aren't getting anything for that. If you stay at this place for 5 years, you will have paid $75,000 to this person. If you have been at your place renting it for 10 years, you have paid $150,000. And if you stay for 15 years, that's $225,000. So how many people have been renting for 10, 15, 20 years? It's a lot of people. I know a lot of my family are not owners. I know some of my family that are owners. But to the ones that aren't, and if you get older, that's how much you have given somebody over the lifetime of paying rent. Now, if you stay there for 20 years, that's $300,000. Imagine the type of land, property, or business or investments you could have made in any type of asset, the stock market, real estate, in this time that you have just paid rent. Just throwing this fake money away. We have to learn how to take this fake money and turn it into real estate or real assets. Okay, my Niiji? So there is a whole house that you have paid for that you don't own, and guess what? If you don't pay it, you get kicked out. Somebody else moves in and the wheel just keep on spinning. That's a down payment on freedom being funneled into someone else's wealth. Okay? If you've been paying rent this long, ask yourself, what do you own? If you stop working today, will your name be on a deed, a stock, or an asset? Alright? Author theme song, what a wonderful kind of day if we could learn to work and play and get along with each other. Ziggy Marley had a point out there. Exactly. If we could work and get along, the world would be better. But it's just not that way in this country. It just hasn't been that way. It's not that way. Just in December, I know y'all remember Robert Brooks. Like, that really bothered me how they had this guy helpless and then they unalived him and then there was nothing done about that. It just like, oh, that happened, now everybody forgets and moves on to something else. And it's just sad. So that's how expensive it is. And for me, coming from hood to hooded, having to overcome all of those obstacles, that poverty places upon you that you don't even know, those generational curses that are placed upon you that you don't even recognize, it makes it a hell of a lot harder to go from hood to hooded. It makes it a hell of a lot harder to go through school without having legacy, without having, with being a first generational college student. People don't understand how expensive it is, how much support you need. So you have to kind of go through this thing and teach people along the way. So it can get pretty expensive. So just think about the math for a second and where the money is going and how we started and where we are today. So I have this pulled up on the screen because I want to just talk about, you know, the times when Madam C.J. Walker was alive. And then I ran across this. I've been doing some research last night, and it just shows the amount of dentists, physicians that were in America during like the 1900s, the early 1900s. So there were about 4,000 medical physicians. Hold on, let me get my thing right, y'all. Let me get my thing right. So there were about 4,000 medical physicians. There were 800 dentists, about 600 pharmacists, 750 drug stores, 250 hospitals, and 25,000 trained practical nurses. Okay, so a lot more dentists, and I'm focused on dentistry because this is my field. And it's underrepresented like a lot of fields. And I came from the hood, and I wasn't supposed to be here. I can't even really say that because I am where I'm supposed to be, but you get what I'm trying to say. So I wish Kamala Harris would have won the presidency. She cared more about the people. Trump was a narcissist piece of shit who cares about himself. He thinks he's above the law, and he's the emperor. I mean, whenever you have a president who wins the presidency and he can have 34 felons, but when you melanated like me, if you have one felon, you can't even work barely at McDonald's, but he can run the country. That should tell you the inequality that exists in this country and how it is very expensive for everybody involved. Even though the farmers last year, they voted for Trump, they were MAGA supporters and all this BS. Look at them now crying because the government cut off the funding. They're not funding them. They're not giving them the bailout that they thought that they were going to get from Trump. He cut it all off. So when you think that you're being racist and it turns around and bites you in the ass, I can't do nothing but laugh at you. You know, I can't do nothing but laugh. Okay, so that's the health preservation back in the day. So I did a little research. I said to my chat GPT, I said, how many dentists were melanated or black, African American, Niiji, all these things mean the same thing in my eyes, when Madam C.J. Walker became a millionaire, because she was one of the first documented millionaires during her era, a woman millionaire. Okay, that's what they say. I don't know because, you know. So it says when Madam C.J. Walker became a millionaire in the early 1910s, the number of black dentists in the United States was extremely low due to systemic racism, segregation, and limited access to professional education. So coming from then to now and to be in this position, and I came from a background where there was systemic racism, there was not really segregation, but kind of, but not, it's not so blatant, and limited access to education. I have to be very grateful to my ancestors who fought and who continue to get into these positions, who inspired me and a lot of other people to pursue these careers that were so limited to us, and they are still limited to African Americans, black people, the Niiji, the melanated. They still limited to this day. To this day, okay? In the 1900s, there were 120 black dentists in the United States. 120 of us to go around, okay? In the 1900. By the 1910, the number had risen to 150 to 200, okay? Then it says dentists were often graduates of Howard University College of Dentistry, founded in 1881, or Meharry Medical College School of Dentistry, founded in 1886. Shout out to Meharry. I'm Meharry made. Without these two African HBCU dental schools, which there are still only two. Let me just rewind this for the people in the back. When we talk about equality and segregation and racism, back then there were only two. One started in 1881 and one was started in 1886. And since 1886, there has not been one additional melanated dental school that has been started in this country. Now, how y'all feel about that? Somebody said a City Group report 2020 found that racial disparities particularly in wages, housing, education, and business investments, cost the U.S. economy $16 trillion over 20 years. Exactly. And believe it or not, in places like France, Italy, China, these people have free healthcare. They could go and get sick and go to the doctor and everybody is covered. I don't know how that feels as a provider to not be private and not to have, control of what you make. But if everybody has health and everybody is covered, that seems like a government that cares more versus a government trying to cut the black people off of stuff and make everything better for a white supremacy type of perspective. That's different. So when I learned that they have free college, and here I am paying for college as a Niiji, it doesn't make any sense. So back to this. So there are only two back then in the 1800s, and it has not changed. It has not changed. Meanwhile, there are, let's see, because I want to make sure I get this math right. So two melanated dental schools, Meharry made, baby. Period. Without Meharry, I wouldn't be a doctor today. I don't care how smart I am. I don't care. I only got one interview. Meharry Medical College, because I was disadvantaged. I don't have legacy. I came from poverty. That's why hood to hood is a real thing for me. So it says, as of 2025, there are 75 accredited dental schools in the United States. Out of 75 schools, only 2 of them are melanated. So what's that percentage looking like, chat? Let's do the math, because I like to do the math. I want to know the numbers. I want to know how big a gap and how expensive racism is in this country. Let's see. So 2.6% of the dental schools are melanated. 2.6. And I remember in my hometown, Florida A&M University, they were, before I went to Meharry, there was a talk about getting another dental school. They shut it down. The state shut it down. I was like, dang, it'd be so nice if I didn't have to move away. I could go to dental school right here. Do you know they shut it down because they don't want more of us coming out? And it is so sad, my Niiji. I run into people all the time. I've never seen a black dentist. I've never seen a black dentist. And it's so common for people never to have seen a black doctor or dentist than it is for them to have seen it. And this is why, because they shoot down every opportunity for us to get more melanated HBCU dental schools. It's like, oh, those 2 from the 1800s, that's enough for y'all. Y'all don't need no more. And it's so crazy to me that there are 2.6%. Okay? 2.6%. Let that sink in. Trump is a convicted felon. He shouldn't be in office, let alone run for president. Period. He cut out funding for the U.S. Department of Education and defunded PBS, where a lot of shows I grew up are aired. Exactly. Do you see how expensive racism is? So not only in this country do you not get free education, but they're going to take away the things that do educate you. And then for the melanated people, they're going to miseducate you and teach you a history that is colonized based on white supremacy, that makes you feel less than, and that does not tell the truth about who we are. That's some old bullshit. Blacks need to more representation and more opportunities to succeed. This is my point exactly. That's why it's expensive, my guys. That's why it's expensive. All right. And then let's move on with this, because this is going deep. You might as well get you a sip of water or something, because I got a lot to say today. So then it says racial barriers in education and licensing limited access to the profession. So they put racial laws and barriers in place so that we couldn't have access to the dental profession. Believe it or not, back in the day, I've heard stories from my professors and different patients that melanated people had to go to the vet dentist if they had a toothache. They had to go to the vet. They couldn't even go to the dentist. So you're going to limit us from being able to get this education. And then when we do need the services, we got to go to the vet. Psycho. You know what I mean? Let's turn this music down a little bit. Let me get my music right, guys. Let's turn it down. So we got to go to the vet, like that doesn't make any sense. But this is real life. This is real America. This is how much they want to keep promoting pseudo history and hold people down, and it's sad. And I wish we could all just get along. Wouldn't that be nice if we could just all get along? Some of us can, but when it comes to the government and the president and all of these people holding office, it's just crazy. Okay. Just crazy. So it says many black dentists serve only in black communities, as segregation laws prevented integrated practices. Despite these challenges, black dentists were highly represented within their communities. It's like for me, even now, I've worked in some offices where I was the only dentist in the office. I'm black, but I had no black patients. I had no black staff. So it was a little shocking for me coming from Florida to those practices, and I had to quickly learn that this hard work paid off. It paid off. It gave me the ability to hold my head high, to use my education to help people, regardless of the color, to help people. You know what I mean? And I wish the government thought like that. Hey, regardless of the color, we're going to give them fair education. We are going to give them fair medical attention. But obviously, if somebody won't give you something, you have to create it and make it yourself. But it's kind of hard when the laws prevent you from helping yourself. Okay, my Niiji? It's kind of hard. All right? It says, when Madam C.J. Walker became America's first documented self-made black woman millionaire, there were likely fewer than 200 dentists in the entire country. And I can guarantee you, they probably were all men, not women. So that's another thing that we had to overcome. Okay? So now I said, how many black dentists are there today? And what is the percentage? So we can see where we came from and where we are now. So it says, as of 2023, there are 7,689 black dentists. And we represent a whopping 3.8% of the total dental workforce of 202,304 dentists. So there are over 200,000 dentists, and us, the Niiji, the melanated dentists, are only 3.8%, even though we make up 13% of the United States. So this is why we're underrepresented. This is why it's so unfair, and this is why we have to talk about diversity and continuing to educate our people and even the world about the inequality. Okay? Is that all I wanted to say about this? It says, I think that's all I wanted to say about this. So let's move on to another segment. I want to get into, show you how expensive is it when you don't have the ability to pursue your education. You aren't really taught financial literacy in school. And then when you get out into this mean world and you become just a worker and you don't have that ambition to be like an owner or a dreamer or just somebody who fights for their life or just breaks those generational curses, because they are very, very heavy. Very, very heavy. So this is how people feel about going to work every day, working a 9 to 5, and just feeling less than.
You know, I wouldn't even mind working if it allowed me to pay my bills and still have some money left over. But the reason why I hate working is because I'm doing all this for literally nothing. And that's what it feels like. It feels like I go to work 40 hours a week, sometimes plus, sometimes 10-hour days, whatever, however many hour days, for absolutely nothing, just to pay bills and then be looking stupid for the next week and a half before I can get another paycheck. Like, that's the problem. The problem isn't necessarily the work. It's that we don't get paid enough to work. Like, we don't get paid enough to work. We don't get paid enough to live. That's the problem.
All right, so that's the first one that we're looking at, and we're seeing how people feel about working, feeling like they're less than, feeling like they don't have any hope, feeling like the American dream was all a crock of bullshit. Okay, let's go to another one and see how people are feeling about this.
I really cannot wait until my business make $1 million because I'm so sick of clocking in. Like, you telling me I can't take a vacation whenever I want to? I can't use the bathroom whenever I want to. Like, God, please let this entrepreneurship shit work because please, I'm fighting for my life. Please.
So for me, I felt the same way working the 9 to 5. Even as a provider, I felt like, dang, I have to go and be an entrepreneur because it's a dead end for me. And coming from poverty, you don't really learn about entrepreneurship, business. You have to go and get that information on your own. So even that with a dental practice is so stressful to try to make it grow, to make it work, to handle overhead on top of the tariffs, on top of the government not caring about small businesses. You know, it's just a lot. Let's go to another one.
Motherfuckers always asking me my dream job like I just like working. Bitch, I hate working. I tell people all the time, bro, my dream job is to not have a job. I hate clocking in. I hate talking to managers. I hate having meetings. I hate having coworkers. I hate everything about having a job. I hate having to wait on the paycheck. I hate this shit. I really hate this shit. I hate working this job. I hate working a job. I tell people this shit all the time. I don't want a job. I don't want a job. I want to act, I want to rap because shit like that, it don't feel like a job. I want to do shit that doesn't feel like a job. It don't feel like a job. I got to wake up in the morning and swipe a card, or I got to get on Chronos and log in, get on ADT, log in. I got to motherfucking receive a call from my manager and be like, hey, did you do this? I don't want to hear none of this shit. I'm tired of this shit on my mama. I'm 2 seconds away 2 milliseconds away from slapping my manager, my boss, and all my coworkers. I swear to God, and whoever owned this company, and whoever owned a company. I swear to God, I hate working. We always get underpaid. And it's so crazy because your job not really your job. It's just your turn, because at the end of the motherfucking day, they can fire you whenever the fuck they want to. If they getting low on business, they can fire you and they gonna call it a layoff, because of course you able to get unemployment if they call it a layoff. But I'm just saying, like, your job is not really your job. It's just your fucking turn. You could be down bad on your ass and you really need to work overtime and you can't even fucking work overtime. You don't even got a job no more. You don't even fucking know because they low on business right now. But I don't like this shit. I don't like this shit. I don't like this shit. And I really hate the fact that I got to depend on this shit right now. But one day, I'm not going to need to depend on this shit. One day, I'm not going to need to depend on this shit and deal with these stinking ass customers, deal with these stinking ass managers, deal with these stinking ass coworkers. I just hate it. I just hate it.
Ay, ay, ay. That's the sentiment about people having to go to work for a living and now you can't even afford it. The report says that you need 3 jobs no matter what state it is to make a living. Minimum wage doesn't cover rent in no state right now. It doesn't. And with tariffs, food prices going high, this is how people are feeling. Like, let's just be honest. And then, like I said, I have felt that before. Like, dang, I'm not getting anywhere. Even in college, I had 3 jobs at one time. This was about how many years ago? 10, 15 years ago. I worked at a hotel as a front desk. I worked as a work study student in the medical school, in the Drosophila lab, cleaning fly shit. And I was working at Winn-Dixie to provide for my family. And I had to go to school too. So that's how tough, that's how many obstacles, and that's the difference between, being able to go to school for free with your education and not having any systemic racism in place. That's the difference, and how hard it is for somebody like me and other people like me to make it out of the poverty, then to have only 2 schools that probably going to accept you. So it's really like a less than 1% chance. My mom used to work 3 jobs. A lot of people still work 3 jobs. And if they could work 4, they would. But guess what? You're giving away your time for money. And when you look up, you won't have anything. You won't have anything to show for it. You've been paying rent. You won't have a land to show for it. You won't have a house to show for it. You just wake up and now you're older with nothing. You guys, that's why breaking generational curses, going from hood to hood in a mind is very important. Entrepreneurship, business owners is very, very important. You cannot quit on your dream. I don't care what your dream is, you cannot quit on it. Continue to go to school. Continue to get those degrees if that's what you need to get where you want to go. Do something that you love. If you don't love your job, why are you there? You can move. You're not a tree. You're not a tree. She had to go to school and take care of 2 kids. And that's the same story people have been dealing with for so long. Having to go to school, to take care of kids, to make a living for their kids. And it's really, really sad, my Niiji. Sorry I missed the previous live streams. I was asleep those nights. Yes, that's why I'm going live a little bit earlier. Because even I get a little sleepy and I can't be consistent that late. So I have to just switch my time. Alright? So let's go to another segment. This is called The Dream is Dead, but You Are Not. The dream is dead, but you are not. Uh-oh. Something happened to my video. Where is my video? Hold on, guys. The dream is dead, but we are not, man. We are not. The American's dream is dead because it's been a lie the entire time. You know, poverty has been our reality, and it's time to break free from that. It's really time. Like, even though it's a difficult, weird space we're in right now with the terrorists, with the government acting ghetto as hell, we still can't lose. We can't live in fear. You cannot live in fear. You can't quit on your dreams. You can't not try. You know what I mean? So let's go into another segment with James Baldwin. This is an interview from the Dick Cavett show. This is an old show. I ran into this information like yesterday. I saw this. I said, this is so relevant to nowadays. So let's dive in and see what he has to say to contribute to why the dream is dead, but you're not. All right. We know that inflation is high. Tariffs are squeezing us. Eggs cost what steaks cost. And the government bailed out farmers for over $200 billion, but can't erase student loans or give us a living wage. We're paying taxes to fund wars. We're paying taxes to send money to Ukraine. We're paying taxes to give money to farmers when we can't even afford the food here. We're doing so much. They voted for Trump, got his plan, and now they are crying. We get crumbs and they still get blamed. But we are not waiting on nobody no more. We have to educate ourselves. So if you're stuck, you feeling stuck and you feel like you're tired, you're not lazy. If you're feeling weak and needing rest, because you do need rest, you need to have your time, okay? But you are so powerful for pivoting. So let's see what he has to say in this interview that really hits home for me, and that lets us know that nothing has changed and this government has to change until they tell the truth, until they really learn how to be equal and not try to be manipulative and tariffs and not really caring about the people is going to continue to crumble down. So let's see what James Baldwin had to say.
Will think of you.
Of course. Look, anybody. What anybody thinks of you, ultimately you have to think of yourself and be true to yourself.
I don't care what Senator Eastland thinks about me.
Who cares?
Or Ronald Reagan thinks about me, but they have the power to destroy my life and the life of my children, and this is given them by the will of the state. I'm not talking about myself as a writer. Of course I'm a writer. I know that. I know what produced me, too. And it was not simply Charles Dickens or any of your colleges. It was also Bessie Smith and Ray Charles, and my father, who was a preacher, and my mother, who learned how to sing.
That's true of anybody who's a writer.
What I am trying to say is that the gap, the distance placed between myself and my own assessment, my own experience, was much greater than it would be for any white person in this country.
I don't believe it.
I know you don't believe it. I'm not complaining. I'm not copying a plea. It's not a special plea. I'm trying to make you see something. Pretend that I'm an actor.
Every child starts from scratch. They are helped in various exterior ways in order to be able to find themselves. But the finding of themselves goes within. To become a writer is something that you have to struggle with by yourself, in yourself. And all these other things are conditions and problems, and I grant you had more than other people have.
I didn't even say that. I said they were different. I'll tell you this. When I left this country in 1948, I left this country for one reason only, one reason. I didn't care where I went. I might have gone to Hong Kong, I might have gone to Timbuktu, I ended up in Paris, on the streets of Paris, with $40 in my pocket on the theory that nothing worse could happen to me there that had already happened to me here. You talk about making it as a writer by yourself. You have to be able then to.
Did y'all hear what he said? Nothing worse can happen to me there that can happen to me here. And this is how a lot of people feel with the police brutality, with the inequality with the workforce. In every way, we are pressured into having to go 10 times harder. Like we talked about with the dental school, even as a dentist, even when I want to be a doctor coming from poverty, it's going to be 10 times harder on purpose. Let's keep going.
To turn off all the antenna with which you live, because once you turn your back on this society, you may die. You may die. And it's very hard to sit at a typewriter and concentrate on that if you're afraid of the world around you. The years I lived in Paris did one thing for me. They released me from that particular social terror, which was not the paranoia of my own mind, but a real social danger visible in the face of every cop, every boss, everybody.
At any rate, everybody, no matter who, no matter what his attitude, is bigoted.
I did not say that.
Well, has an attitude. It's on his face. Is in the way of every boss.
But you're
every
asking
boss.
me. You're asking me to do something impossible. You're asking me to take the will for the deed. I don't know what most white people in this country feel, but I can only include what they feel from the state of their institutions. I don't know if white Christians hate Negroes or not, but I know that we have a Christian church which is white and a Christian church which is black. I know, as Malcolm X once put it, that the most segregated hour in American life is high noon on Sunday. That says a great deal for me about a Christian nation. It means that I can't afford to trust most white Christians and certainly cannot trust the Christian church. I don't know whether the labor unions and their bosses really hate me. That doesn't matter, but I know I'm not in their unions. I don't know if the real estate lobby has anything against black people, but I know the real estate lobbies keep me in the ghetto. I don't know if the Board of Education hates black people, but I know the textbooks I give my children to read and the schools that we have to go to. Now, this is the evidence. You want me to make an act of faith, risking myself, my wife, my woman, my sister, my children, on some idealism which you assure me exists in America, which I have never seen.
I never said that.
All right. Do I take 30 seconds to answer that?
You have Jonathan.
All right.
So, that was a lot. That's a lot to unpack, guys. But the same sentiment that he had last year is the same thing that is how people are feeling today. So those videos from TikTok is the result of the systems in this country. They're set up for a certain group of people to fail and for other groups of people to succeed. And that's why racism is very, very expensive. Super, super expensive. Okay? Very expensive. Now, what you see here is Beyonce. You like, why you got Beyonce up here? Because this is what it looks like when you break generational curses, when you fight for your dreams, when you are able to pass it down to your children, and they are able to live off of a legacy. This is what it looks like when you become an entrepreneur and you don't worry about nothing people say. People thought that, Beyonce was out of her lane when she wanted to do country music, not knowing that melanated African Americans invented country music. So just for her being bold and standing out and doing something that most people wouldn't do, it breaks generational curses. And this is the type of energy that we have to have, my Niiji, to overcome whatever the conversation is. You have to fight for your dream, okay? You just literally have to fight for your dream. So, I want to go over a couple ways that we can escape the paycheck trap. A couple ways. One way, of course, is budgeting and living below your means and to cut ego spending. Just recently there was a lot of videos on TikTok with China telling us, hey, that Louis bag you got for $3,000, it's really only worth $30. So a lot of the things that we overprice in our heads, it's all about a belief system. Sometimes the brand that you love can be ripping you off. So live below your means is one way. Number 2 is to start a side hustle. Okay? What happened to all the comments in the chat? It disappeared. It probably disappeared because we switched scenes. I don't really know. And a lot of times they will disappear after a certain amount of time. So start a side hustle. Digital products, tutoring. I don't know about tutoring, but streaming. And just using your gifts. Monetize your voice. Start a YouTube channel. Start a business. Sell something. Okay? Do something. Get on Turo. Do something. YouTube is a new university. You can learn anything you want, any skill you want on YouTube. And there's so many creators out here doing courses, and there's so many classes and workshops where you don't have to just go to work and go home. But when you go to work and go home, it drains your energy. You give all your energy to that, and then you go home, you go to sleep, and you wake up to do it all over again. So you never have any time or energy to invest in yourself. Now, investing in yourself, starting a business, is a lot more dreamy looking than what it is. It's a lot of hard work to start a business, to make that business get past those critical first couple of years where people fail. And most people won't even start because they're scared of the risk. But if you never take the risk, you won't get anywhere. Take that risk. Failure is okay. It's just a lesson. Think about how much experience you will get if you try something, you don't succeed. Guess what you do? You try again, this time with more experience. You don't just sit here and sulk like, dang, I hate going to work. I hate working this. You have to make some type of action move that gets you to another level. I can recall after graduating from Florida State University, I said, you know, I don't want to go and take a test to get into dental school. I don't feel like taking any more tests. I'm done. But once I started working for the state of Florida as a disability examiner, I felt like I was going to prison every day. Every day that I would walk in the building, I felt like I was going to sit at this desk with the boss who was, I had like a prickler boss. And it was by design that I had this boss, because he was very, very strict. He was like by the book. Like I had to do everything to the T with this man. Okay? And I became so miserable that I said, you know what? I have to go and study for my test. I have to try to go to dental school, because I didn't see myself 20 years sitting at this desk doing something I didn't love. Maybe some people love it, but I was miserable every day. And then it wasn't even enough to support a family, because I was the only one working in that family. I had to go get a job at Ross at night, standing on my feet all night, and work weekends. And I remember saying, you know what? I have to go study for this test. If I don't go study for this test, I'm going to regret it. So I went 3 months straight, working, studying. No clubbing, no drinking, no partying, no traveling. This is how you have to sacrifice your time now to have greater later. And then when I studied for that test, changed my whole entire life. That was the missing key that I didn't want to do. But I couldn't just complain. When you come from poverty, when you're trying to make it from hood to hood, complaints will not suffice. Your excuses will not suffice. Nobody is coming to save you. You have to build up in your mindset, you know what? I'm going to be something wonderful, and I have to save myself. I got to do something different if I want something different in the future. You can't keep doing what don't work. We saw what happens when you pay your rent for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. You basically just digging yourself in a hole. That's all you're doing. I remember Beyonce knows Carter from the 2019 Lion King remake. She was Nala. Yes, Beyonce. I love Beyonce. A lot of people hate on Beyonce, but I love Beyonce. This is, you see how she's getting her kids involved into entrepreneurship and business from an early age, teaching them the game from an early age. And this is what it looks like when you break those curses. It goes from generation to generation. But if you have people in your generation and they got businesses, but they're not sharing the knowledge, it don't travel to the next generation. That's why the Hood to Hood podcast exists. We touch on these topics that people are afraid to touch on. We talk about things that are really going to help you elevate your mindset, so you know the odds are stacked up against you, so you won't even play with yourself like that. You won't even fold over and bend over and just cry and whine. And no, because nobody is coming to save us. You have every gift in you to overcome all obstacles. You have every talent, every skill already embedded in you. Just wake up and light that fire inside of yourself. You can't give up. All right. So number 3, investing. I don't know about investing right now with the uncertainty of the stock market, but when everything settles down, investing $5 to $20 a week with apps like Robinhood, Acorn, or Fidelity. I really like Acorn because they'll take out even just $5 a week. You don't realize how much that means in a year. You don't realize how much you have even for an emergency fund in a couple years. So do something. Don't just settle. Whatever you do, don't settle. Don't live with regrets. If you got to go back and take that test, listen, go ahead and take the test. If you got to go back and get this certification, listen, go get that certification. If you got to go and apply for a job every day of the week, do that if you're not happy where you are. Okay? Because we got to make some differences, guys. All right. Number 4, get financial literacy. I talk about Rich Dad Poor Dad a lot. There's another book, The Psychology of Money. YouTube, there's so many ways for you to get financial literacy, but it's important for us to be financially literate, okay? Intelligent with money that isn't even real. How do we use this as a tool to grow our assets? So get financial literacy. Follow the Hood to Hood podcast. It's on all podcast platforms. Shameless plug. Number 5, move in silence. Stop flexing when you ain't free yet. Stop flexing on the gram. Stop pretending like you got it. Stop staring at other people who looking like they got it, because half of the people don't. A lot of people flexing and they can't even afford to flex. So we all just watching an illusion. Stay down. Move in silence. Get yourself together. Make those boss moves. You know, be unapologetic. Don't be afraid to take those risks. Number 6, buy assets, not liabilities. Okay? No more overpriced designer bags. No more eating out every day. No more Louis shoes. Because why? This stuff is overpriced. Especially if you're trying to go from hood to hooded or go from paycheck to paycheck. No more partying every weekend. I wouldn't be a doctor if I had a party every time that I wanted to party, because you know me, I'm from Tallahassee, Florida. And I've been partying since I was in high school. I've been clubbing, teen clubbing. When you're going out with me, it's going to be a good time. We're going to dance all night. But my family and friends will tell you, if I got a test to take, if I got school obligations, I'm bringing my books to the cookout. Yeah, I am. Okay, I can't go out until I finish studying. And if I'm studying for the test that got me into dental school, I can't even talk to y'all for 3 months. Because when I get off of work, I got to go study all night until 3 in the morning. Then I got to get up and go to work. And then I got to go back to study for 3 months. And people are like, dang, I can't do that. Then you can't be great if you're going to always make an excuse and quit on yourself. Okay? Number 7, barter or trade skills. Build community wealth systems. So go get a trade. Learn how to use your community. Build a community. A lot of people are getting into building communities online to try to get subscribers, just doing whatever they can to get that extra source of income. An extra $1,000 from YouTube every month is going to help you out. An extra $3,000-$4,000 from another platform or from selling something or using your skills is going to help you out. Number 8, learn high income skills such as copywriting, sales, coding, content creation, dentistry, engineering. Learn any type of high skills that you can use and make money off of it. Now the issue with that is AI is taking a lot of the jobs away. AI does a lot of these content editing, so you got to just pick something that people really need. What do people need that you can provide? Do you know how to do hair? Because AI can't do hair. AI can't do nails. AI can't do lashes. AI can't do none of that stuff. So there's so many services. AI can't be a plumber. AI can't be a locksmith. There's so many careers that you could do where people are making money on the low. Number 8, learn. Well, I already said number 8. Number 9, start a investment fund. And number 10, join a co-op or do it as a group. Okay, guys. Number 10 is really important. Doing it as a group. You know, it's important to do it as a group because guess what? Ownership is cheaper together. Imagine 5 family members coming together, and instead of 5 people investing $100,000 over 5 years, we're gonna put this $500,000 into a property. But the mindset has to be there. So you got to be around people who understand your vision and who are on the same page. Because one bad apple could spoil a bunch. You know that they say one bad apple spoils a bunch. Crabs in the bucket mentality. We got to get away from that. I ain't with that crabs in the bucket mentality. If you winning, I want to see you win. If you striving for success and you want to have a better quality of life, I'm cheering you all the way down to the finish line. I don't got time to be hating on nobody and with the crab in the bucket mentality. The jealousy that people have on the internet, the insecurities, feeling like somebody has something more than you, and you don't know what people go through or going through to get where they are, or how much they still dealing with to get where they are. Okay? So the government is failing you doesn't mean that you have to fail yourself. Period. So racism isn't just expensive, it's emotional. It's economic warfare, such as redlining block property ownership. Student debts hitting black students way more than it hits other races of people. Okay? What else? Healthcare costs more for us, even with insurance. Job access is limited by the zip code, the name, the hairstyle. Black business loans get denied more often than others. We're not just trying to live, we are fighting to exist. But the system is broken and gives the power to build. The system is broken and it gives you the power to build your own. So you hear people say, build your own table. If you don't have a seat at the table, you got to create your own table. Be a creator. So they gave us scraps and told us to dream. Okay? And you can't do that. You got to build a plan. Now, just a little motivation. Let's go to a different segment. This is motivation for the graduates who aren't trying to be enslaved to their jobs. All right? To the graduates walking across the stage this month, do not step into the real world just to become someone else's property for 20, 30, 40 years. Okay? Minimum wage cannot buy maximum peace. It just can't. It's never going to work. So if you feel like it is, you are highly mistaken. You will constantly be met with paycheck to paycheck mentality, constantly facing homelessness because you're not going to make enough. Nowadays, you need multiple streams of income. You need to be an owner of something. You weren't just born to clock in and go to sleep. You are here to build, own, and break those generational cycles. Break those generational curses, okay? So, if you feeling this and you just feel like you want to break free from that, just say, I am not a slave to the system. I am the architect of solutions for my life. I may start with nothing, but I am building everything, boo-boo. I'm building everything. I may have came from nothing, from poverty, from the hood, but look at me now. Regardless of what I lose, even from now until I can't breathe anymore, I refuse to quit. I refuse to give up. I'm going to continue to fight for my dream. And whatever is for me, whatever is for you, nothing can take that away. Nothing can take that away. But the only thing that could take it away, my Niiji, is if you quit on yourself. So you don't wait for an opportunity. You see Madam C.J. Walker? She didn't wait for an opportunity. She started with $2. $2. In a world that didn't have any internet, no social media, just off of positivity, promoting health, marketing. She was so wise. So you don't wait for opportunity. You create it. Look at James Baldwin. He said, you know what? This environment is not allowing me to write my best work because I'm constantly looking over my shoulders. I don't know if the cops are gonna harass me today. Am I gonna be unalive today? Am I gonna be another George Floyd? Am I gonna be another Sandra Bland, Trayvon Martin? Am I going to be a Robert Brooks? You can't dream like that. So that's why racism is expensive. Because you have the system taking fathers and mothers away from the kids. You know, I even had my father incarcerated a lot of my childhood, going to the prison to see him. Do you know how that impacts a child's psyche, getting letters from jail, getting letters from, you know, and not having your father because of the systems that are in place? It really impacts you, and a lot of kids aren't able to overcome that. They become a product of their environment. So like James Baldwin, he moved away. He said, I never felt freer. I didn't have those chains, those mental blocks on my life like the way I do when I live in America. America has to change. That's the American dream, for America to change. For the government to realize y'all don't have the best, you guys don't have the best, how can I put this? Y'all intentions aren't good for the government. Okay? It's just never been good. Because if it was good, we would have more than 2 HBCU dental schools. There wouldn't be so much segregation when it comes to housing and giving loans to people who are color when it comes to businesses. It would be a lot easier. But we just, you know, you don't wait for the opportunity. You got to create it. Period. All right? You got to create it. I was good at math. I loved math when I was a kid and still do. That's really good. Like a lot of people, math is important. It's an important part of life, and it's an important part of financial literacy. And when you do the math and you break it down like that, you realize, dang, I really am overpaying and not living my best life. And I just hate to see so many of us working and doing jobs that we hate and not really taking the action to do something different, and just letting society knock all the life out of us, letting society force us to work 3 jobs and 2 jobs, and you know, you can't even take off for graduation, you can't even take off for a funeral, you can't even take off for nothing, or you're gonna get fired. That is so delusional. You know, these corporate places, they're on the island taking a vacation, but you're at work unable to live your best life. Like, something has to change in this world. These tariffs aren't going to make it easier. They're going to make it harder, my Niiji. So we have to really have these tough conversations that people like to gloss over. They don't really want to talk about it. It's like, oh, Dr. Shon, you going into hot water right now. But listen, baby, I stand on business about me. I stand on business about my Niiji. And I stand on business about breaking generational curses and going from hood to hooded. Okay? And breaking those cycles that continue to hold us down. And promoting action. Yes, you can have a dream, but you know, if you don't write your dream down, you don't take action, it's just a wish, it's a fantasy. So we got to turn our dreams into action, not just fantasies where you like, dang, I wish I could do this. I had a dream about doing this, but I ain't never even write nothing down. I ain't even write my dream down on paper. That's how you know you don't care. Because only 3% of adults have clear written goals. And I'm sure those 3% are the ones who have more opportunity because they're more serious. So if you never wrote your goal down, then you're not even serious. This conversation ain't for you, and you probably didn't make it to the end of this video. But to the ones out there who are serious, listen, continue to take action. It's gonna be hard. Some days you don't know if you're coming or going. With my business for the past 2.5 years of being open, every day has been so stressful. I felt failure, like on the brink of failure, but I just can't quit. I can't quit until it's just, you know, I just can't do it anymore. But this is the type of energy. You just can't quit on yourself. Okay, my Niiji? You can't quit. Even with this podcast, I've been doing this for 25 days straight. And I'm going 365 days, but I can't quit. I could have said, you know, I don't want to start this podcast because I don't have all the equipment I need. My camera ain't the best. I don't know how to set it up completely. My this isn't right. I need a softbox light. I need a lens. I need this. But guess what? I hit live with what I had, because perfection is the enemy of progress. And I'm tired of waiting for somebody to approve my greatness. If you tired of waiting for somebody to prove your greatness, put a comment in the chat, or even just feel it in the spirit. If you tired of that, just say to yourself, I am the architect of the solutions for my life. I may start with nothing, but I am building everything. I don't wait for opportunities. I create it. Okay? I create it. All right? So the theme of this is the American dream is dead, but your purpose is still alive, my Niiji. Stay consistent, stay dangerous, and stay learning, because knowledge is power and knowledge is dangerous. It's dangerous. All right? It's dangerous and it's powerful. So guys, I'm almost done with this broadcast, and I know that I have been focusing on like the tariffs and a lot that's going on with the government. It's kind of hard for me not to pay attention to it. It really is, but we gotta not allow fear to take control of our mind. So before we get off of here, we're gonna do one more thing. So I've been reading this book, and we're still in the beginning of this book, our second book, Never Eat Alone. This is a great book for the times that we're living in right now, because you know the last thing I talked about on 10 ways to escape paycheck to paycheck trap, the last way was to join a co-op or buy or group buy. Ownership is cheaper together. This talks about networking. So we're diving into this book a little bit at a time. Sorry, where was I? I had an idea for a product guaranteed to teach kids math in an enjoyable way. What happened? Do you still have that idea or that dream? I think you should do it. It's never too late to teach kids math. It's never too late to teach kids math. Never ever too late for that. So whatever your dream was, it probably still is, and you hold the key to make it come to life. And even if you don't do it in the same way you thought that you wanted to do it, you never know until you try. You never know. When I was in Nashville going to Meharry Medical College, right, I even had to work in dental school. I had to take care of a family in dental school. Yes. So I had to braid hair after dental school, and it was just a lot. But I met this lady and her mom. They were going homeless in Nashville, and her mom used her ingredients from her kitchen to start selling cookies. And she started baking cookies and selling them to the people on the streets. Now this lady is a multi-millionaire off of that one moment where she had to feed her family. You know what? I'm going to use this flour, this eggs, this milk, this sugar, and start baking cookies. Look at crumble cookies nowadays. All they do is sell cookies. You can't tell me that you can't bake a cookie. You can't sell a bottle of water. You can't cook a hamburger. You can't do some nails. Look at me. In dental school, I did hair. I did hair from the age of 13, 14, 15 to get me here, because I had to do something. You have to do something to take action on your dreams. So we're still in the first chapter of this book, and I'm just going to read a little bit of it just to see what we can get out of it. And then I will be done for today, guys. But I really want us to just continue to grow on this podcast. All right. It says, this realization came with some empowering implications. To achieve your goals in life, I realize it matters less how smart you are, how much innate talent you were born with, or even most eye-opening to me, where you came from and how much you started with. Sure, all of those things are important, but they mean little if you don't understand one thing. You can't get there alone. In fact, you can't get very far at all, and that's true. You do it so much better when you're together. Fortunately, I was hungry to make something of myself, and I frankly even more terrified that I amount to nothing. Otherwise, perhaps I would have just stood by and watched like my friends in the caddy yard. I first began to learn about the incredible power of relationships from Mr. Poland. Carol Poland was married to the owner of the big lumber yard in our town, and her son Brett, who was my age, was my friend. They went to our church. At the time, I probably wanted to be Brett. Great athlete, rich, all the girls falling over him. At the club, I was Mrs. Poland's caddy. I was the only one who cared enough, ironically, to hide her cigarettes. I busted mine behind to help her win every tournament. I walked the course the morning before to see where the tough pin placements were. I test the speed of the greens. Miss Poland started raking up wins left and right. Every ladies' day, I did such a great job that she would brag about me to her friends. Soon, others requested me. I caddy 36 holes a day if I could get to work, and I made sure I treated the club caddy master as if he were king. My first year, I won the annual caddy award, which gave me a chance to caddy for Arnold Palmer when he came to play on his hometown course. Arnie started out as a caddy himself at the Latrobe Country Club and went on to own the club as an adult. I looked up to him as a role model. He was living proof that success in golf and in life had nothing to do with class. Now, I don't know about this book when it comes to success having nothing to do with class, but the author is not melanated. He's a white guy. But he said it had nothing to do with class. So that part I don't really agree with, but I see where he's trying to go. It was about access, yes, and talent, at least in his case. Some gain access through birth or money. So I do agree with that. It's about access, okay? A lot of us get counted out because we don't have the access. We don't even know how to get the access to money or just being born into greatness. You see Blue Ivy that I showed earlier, Beyonce's daughter, she was born into greatness. But somewhere down the line, somebody had to believe in that greatness and pass it down so that the grandkids and the great-great-grandkids can live off of it and create generational wealth versus generational curses. Because when you don't pass anything back down, whether it's knowledge, money, love, then you start and you perpetuate generational curses, okay? He says, some were fantastic at what they did, like Arnold Palmer. My edge, I knew, was my initiative and drive. Arnie was an inspirational proof that your past not be prolonged to your future. For years, I was de facto member of the Poland family, splitting holidays with them and hanging out at their house every day. Brett and I were inseparable, and I love his family like my own. Miss Poland made sure I got to know everyone in the club that could help me, and if she saw me slacking, I'd hear about it from her. I helped her on the golf course, and she, in appreciation of my efforts and the care I bestowed upon her, helped me in life. She provided me with a simple but profound lesson about the power of generosity. When you help others, they often help you. Reciprocity is the gussied up word people use later in life to describe the ageless principle. I just knew the word as care. We care for each other, so we went out of our way to do nice things. Because of those days, and specifically that lesson, I came to realize the first semester at business school that Harvard's hyper-competitive, individualistic students had it all wrong. Success in any field, but especially in business, is about working with people, not against them. I wish the government would hear that. Success is about working with people, not against them. It wasn't too far into my second semester before I started jokingly reassuring myself, how on earth did all these other people get in here? What many of my fellow students lack, I discovered, were the skills and strategies that are associated with fostering and building relationships. In America, especially in business, we're brought up on to cherish John Wayne individualism. People who consciously court others to become involved in their lives are seen as schmoozers. Schmoozers, that's a weird word. Brown nosers and smarmy sycophants. Over the years, I learned that the outrageous number of misperceptions clouding those who are active relationship builders is equaled only by misperceptions of how relationship building is properly done. What I saw on the golf course, friends helping friends, families helping families they cared about, had nothing to do with manipulation or quid pro quo. Rarely was there any running tally of who did what for whom, or strategies concocted in which you give just so you could get, which is what people do nowadays. They give so they can get. The tariffs, Donald Trump is taking away and doing this so that he can get something out of it. It says, over time I came to see reaching out to people as a way to make a difference in people's lives, as well as a way to explore and learn and enrich my own. It became the conscious construction of my life's path. Once I saw my networking efforts in this light, I gave myself permission to practice it with abandon. Hold on. Once I saw my networking efforts in this light, I gave myself permission to practice it with abandon in every part of my professional and personal life. I didn't think of it as cold or impersonal. I thought I was networking. I was instead connecting, sharing my knowledge and my resources, time, and energy, friends and associates, and empathy and compassion in a continual effort to provide value to others, while coincidentally increasing my own. Like business itself, being a connector is not about managing transactions, but about managing relationships. And I'm going to stop there. So what do we get from that little part of this book? I got that relationships are important no matter what type of degree you have. Learning to never eat alone is important. Learning to network. And he says something that, you know, when you come from poverty, you don't really have access to country clubs and the wealthy people on the country club. So this perspective that he's coming from is a whole mindset, because I didn't know anything about country clubs, and my parents' friends weren't rich. My mom had me at 14 years old, so that wasn't really a possibility. And a lot of times when you come from poverty, that really is not a possibility. So you have to create your own roadmap. But nevertheless, while you're creating your own roadmap, relationships are very important, which is why we're reading this book. I think it's important when you go from hood to hooded to network and to learn how to properly network, which is why I have a problem with effective communication, because I wasn't taught that. I had to learn it on my own. Okay, let's see what the comments looking like. The working title for the product is Matthew the Mathematical Malamute. He's a robot dog designed to teach kids of all ages math. Matthew is designed to make learning math fun and engaging for children. This robotic dog combines advanced AI tech with lifelike dog behaviors to create a unique learning experience. Matt provides math lessons, practice exercises, quizzes, and fun games that mirror the school curriculum. He covers basic math principles and advanced topics like algebra, geometry, and trig. He loves to solve problems audibly and using his paws, with each paw representing a different place value. He can perform mental math, calculate dates, square numbers, and more. Wow. Seems like you had it all figured out. It seems like all you have to do now is start. Start. All right? So this was a pretty heavy, I'll say heavy lie, but I think that it needed to happen. Discussing racism and how expensive it is never easy, but it is very expensive. And now it's becoming expensive to the government because they have committed, racist acts for so long. Before, it would only single out certain people, but now it's impacting everybody. Okay, just like only having 2 HBCU dental schools for over 100 years and shutting us out, it makes a disparity for our people. Because if there's 13% of us, but only 2 or 3% of African American dentists, then there's going to always be a shortage. So there needs to be more diversity in every area of life. There needs to be more kindness and consideration in every area of life. But we as Niiji have to know who we are, stand on business, and continue to not allow America or the government to write our story or to tell our narrative. You hold the pen to your own story. Whatever it is you want to do, you have the pen. Now, if you had a pen, let me see. Now, if you had a pen, let's see, to your own story and you keep the cap on, then you can't write because you blocking yourself out from writing. You actually have to take the cap off, put this ink to paper, and write it down and put your plans on paper. You can't just keep it up here and wish and dream and fantasize about what you're going to do. You actually have to take the cap off, take that lid off, and take the risk, my Niiji. Just take the risk. Stop being afraid of yourself. Stop being afraid of failure, because what can you lose? In this country, what can you lose? If you don't try, you lose everything. But if you try, only thing that happens is you learn so many lessons about how strong you are, how brave you are, how amazing you are, how wonderful you are, how much you can overcome even when you are given less than, even in the face of inequality, even in the face of just unfairness with the government. You are powerful. Okay? Extremely powerful. So, let's move on to the final closing segment. So this is our dental moment, because you know I like to throw in a little dentistry. That's the dentist in me. So I hope y'all brush and floss your teeth today. I hope you brush and floss your teeth today. But we're going to talk about this little quote that I found here. You see that? Mountain Dew is the cigarettes of soda, and I don't know how to elaborate on that. Well, I know how to elaborate on that because somebody put this up as a quote, but they just knew that Mountain Dew is the cigarettes of soda. There is something called Mountain Dew mouth, and it is a slang term used to describe severe tooth decay and dental erosion, particularly among children and teens, that results from frequent consumption of sugary soft drinks, especially Mountain Dew, because it has a lot of acid, and acid breaks down enamel. Okay, so what are the key characteristics of Mountain Dew mouth? And before we get into Mountain Dew mouth, let's just see if we can find an image of it for you. Mountain Dew mouth, because when it comes to inequality, oral health care is important. Mountain Dew mouth disease. Alright, so let's show you how it would probably look. Let me pull up a window. So brushing and flossing is very, very important, guys. Every day. There, like I said, there's inequality all over. So this is Mountain Dew mouth. Just put that right there. All right. All right. So what are the key characteristics of Mountain Dew mouth? Rapid decay of teeth, especially the front teeth. Okay. Black or brown cavities, often along the gum line. So you'll see this patient has so much plaque buildup, probably calculus, lots of decay going on. And these teeth look white, but they're more than likely soft. Sensitivity or pain, gum inflammation, so redness of the gums. You see how red, you can't really see the gums here, but they are puffy and red and inflamed. And then this leads to tooth loss. All right. Why do we call it Mountain Dew mouth? Why do we call it that, chat? We call it that because Mountain Dew has extremely high sugar content. Extremely high. A 20-ounce bottle has about 19 teaspoons of sugar. Wait. Let's back that up, chat. Let's back that up. So a 20-ounce bottle. This is almost 20 ounces, but it's not. This is a water bottle. But one 20-ounce bottle of Mountain Dew has about 19 teaspoons of sugar. That is really bad. So it's basically like you just pouring sugar on your teeth, and it tastes so good, but it's just sugar and acid and like, yeah. High acidity from not only Mountain Dew, but a lot of sodas and energy drinks wears away the outer layer of enamel. So when you see these teeth here, you see how they're like chalky white, that's the start of decay, and probably a little bit more deeper. So his or her teeth are really, really soft. Okay? And this is often, Mountain Dew is often consumed in rural, underserved communities with limited access to dental care. Here we go again with racism being expensive, even when it comes to dentistry. So that whole thing about being a little bit of only 2 dental schools trickles down to there only being 3% of African American dentists, and then it trickles down to there being not enough dentists to educate the people in the underserved communities. Now you have issues like this. And guess what happens when you have issues like this? This is expensive because a lot of these people may be on programs that pay for dental care, but they only going to pay for dentures. Okay? And a lot of patients don't have access to dentistry now. And with tariffs in the way, it's going to get worse. So drinking Mountain Dew throughout the day, especially from a baby bottle or a sippy cup, leads to prolonged acid attack on enamel. So if you have little kids and you're putting juices and soda in their bottle, then you are basically giving your child tooth decay. You are basically destroying their baby teeth, which is going to make them more prone to having issues with their adult teeth. And then, in addition to that, they become addicted to sugar. So when they get older, they aren't going to know that, hey, I want to drink water, I need to brush and floss my teeth. They end up with dentures. I've had patients in their 20s that have periodontal disease and they need dentures. Okay? So Mountain Dew mouth is common in the Appalachian region. So just like the Appalachian Indians, the Niiji, is common in Kentucky, West Virginia, Tennessee, where it was first observed. Areas with high soda consumption and poor access to dental education or care. So a lot of people don't have access to this dental education. They don't even know how serious drinking soda, Mountain Dew all the time, a 6-pack, you having all this sugar, now you have diabetes, now you have all these heart problems. All these things correlate to each other. Now you go to the ER because you don't have dental insurance, so you have this massive hospital bill. This messes up your credit. It's just like a never-ending cycle when it comes to racism, how expensive it is. It impacts your health. It impacts your education. It's going to impact your working ability. It's going to determine if you're going to be paycheck to paycheck. It has a lot to do with everything, my Niiji. And you notice all these different conditions primarily impact melanated, underserved communities. Because why? We don't have access to care. We don't have access to doctors who look like us. And I find that a lot of patients who are black, I don't like saying that word, but black, indigenous, African American, they don't even go to the dentist because they don't really trust the dentist. And it's really kind of sad. It's really kind of sad. And I see, like I said, I see people all the time, elderly. I've never seen a black dentist. And it's just shocking that even in this day and age, they never seen a black dentist. But at the same time, we are very few, very rare. So if you know one, listen, we're very rare. All right. So how do we prevent Mountain Dew mouth, guys? Of course, you want to stop drinking Mountain Dew. Stop poisoning your teeth with this sugar, because it's just going to give you a whole bunch of health problems. Obesity, heart disease, diabetes, to name a few. Even cancer. I did, during April, which was Oral Cancer Awareness Month, I did a lot of streams talking about oral cancer. And we discovered that sugar increases or drinking sugary drinks, energy drinks, increases your risk of oral cancer. So if you combine Mountain Dew mouth with smoking cigarettes, with drinking alcohol, then your teeth are doomed. That means you don't give a damn about your teeth. They're just doomed. And if you give your kids sugary drinks, listen, you're setting them up for failure. Drink water instead, and especially fluoridated tap water. Now, one thing I did know is in Florida they banned fluoride in water, which is terrible because fluoride protects the teeth from decay. So if you take it out of the water, what's going to happen is they're going to find a lot more children who are in these underserved communities drinking soda, eating potato chips and candy a lot. That's going to make them have more dental problems. And if the state is paying for oral health care for children, it's going to make the state pay a higher cost. All because of, I feel, racism. Okay? So you want to brush twice per day with a fluoride-based toothpaste and floss. We cannot skip flossing. When you don't floss, you miss about 30% of the surfaces. So if you go and you say, I brush my teeth every day, but if you don't floss, then we got a problem. You're going to have calculus. You're still going to get bone loss and periodontal disease. So brush and floss, preferably with an electric toothbrush. I like the Oral-B IO toothbrush. And then visit the dentist. Okay? So, you guys, that's pretty much all for this. That's pretty much all for this segment of the live. And we are wrapping it up. So again, we are reading this book. If you want to join in, Never Eat Alone by Keith Farazi. He has a different perspective from me, but I like to get different perspectives when we're learning. If you want to watch these on the replay, they're available on YouTube. And the podcast has just the meat and potatoes, so you can follow the Hood to Hooded podcast. And yeah, we got a lot covered today. I had a lot to get out. I'm going live in the morning now versus nighttime, so, you know, just figuring it out. But I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Don't let this government put fear in your heart, and let's just all practice kindness. If you take nothing else from this video or this live, everybody needs to practice kindness. From the felon president all the way down. Kindness. Okay, I don't know if that's gonna happen, but we'll see. Thank you, Clifford 2000 fan, for chatting with me today and for all of your input. Thank you, MacMin007, for all the information. And if you watch silently, thank you for, you know, just chilling and hanging out with me. And I will see you guys in the next stream. This is Dr. Chiefest Sunflower, aka Dr. Shon, and I'm out. Make sure y'all scream my new single, STFU. It's my birthday, and make sure you are following me, because you know, you never know what I'm going to talk about, but you know that it's going to take us from where? Hood to hooded. And we're going to do what? Break generational curses, regardless of how difficult the conversation is. All right? I love you guys. Have a wonderful Saturday. Bye, guys. Oh, well, I'm going to give you a minute if anybody has any questions. What are your thoughts on this invention I thought up? Doesn't matter. It says Matthew the dog is poised to revolutionize math education, making it fun, interactive, and effective for students of all ages. It doesn't matter if you're 8 or 88, you can use this product and it will be beneficial to you. Math can be fun for you to learn. All I need is funds to make it happen. What are your thoughts on this invention I thought of? Bye. Like I said, Clifford 2000 fan, that's a great idea. It sounds like you will definitely need some type of coding to make it happen, unless you do coding yourself, and definitely some fun. So I would probably recommend starting a crowdfund if you're really serious. Draw up some prototypes, get crowdfunding, and just try. And even now with AI, there's this program called Sora, S-O-R-A. It's a little pricey. It's like $200 a month. I don't have it, but I do know about it. But you can create these type of cartoon videos and share them to YouTube, you know, or do something like that. So there's so many ways for you to get this idea off the ground, but I think it's a great idea. Like anything that's educating students, especially when it comes to math, reading, writing, it's always going to be a win, especially when you tie it to a character and learning. Kind of like Clifford. Kind of like Clifford, how he was a dog that was teaching. All right. Any more questions? So it seems like all the questions have been answered. So I'm about to get off here, guys, and go enjoy my Saturday. I just wanted to come on here earlier than later. Like I said, I was coming on here at like 10, 11, 12, midnight, 1, 2 o'clock. And it's kind of hard to build an audience that late. So I'm switching my time. I don't know what time in the daytime, but it will be in the morning. Probably before I start working. Like 6 or 7 in the morning. So we shall see. Favorite dog breed. My favorite dog breed is probably, I'm going to say a pit bull. That's the only dog I ever owned was a pit bull my dad gave me. And that was like my favorite dog ever. Her name was Genesis. She was a gray and white pit bull or blue pit. And very, very sweet dog. Before I got that dog, I was afraid of dogs, honestly. But when I got her, I just fell in love. She was like my part of the family until she was stolen. And now I'm scared to, you know, somebody kick 13 KVIT. Hey, what the F is racism is expensive mean? We just did a whole stream on racism being expensive, talking about inequality, systemic racism in the education, with dentistry, with every level of life. So if you want to know about what that means, you got to catch it on the replay. But it just means that it's expensive. It's expensive for the government now. They're putting in all these tariffs, but it's expensive. And everybody who's getting hurt everybody's getting hurt, you know. So it's just expensive. You from America? Yes, I am from America. Where are you from? I'm from Belgium. Wow. Hello. So you probably have no idea what I mean by racism is expensive in Belgium. You guys probably don't even know what that is. Have you ever been to America? Never. So you probably don't know what we were talking about. But that's how it is in America. America is very racism. I thought Turtle Island was an actual island. No, Turtle Island is just the name of the whole United States. But we know what racism is. So racism is expensive in America because people who look like me are highly impacted by racism. And I talked about this earlier, how since the 1800s there have been 2 HBCUs, which is historically black colleges or universities, and there are 73 Caucasian or predominantly white dental schools. So that right there is a primary example of racism. Okay, HBCUs is a historically black college. Why is that? Because colonizers like to control the money, they like to control the system, and they like to educate people on pseudo history. But that's a whole conversation for another day. Sorry for my English. No, your English is fine. These are great questions if you don't know about it. But yeah, racism in America is very, very expensive. It's very traumatizing. Even though I am a dentist, I came from poverty. I came from an environment where racism took my father away from me many times because he was incarcerated. I came from an environment where I've seen even young kids like Trayvon Martin on the news and unalive just for walking to the store with a bag of candy and a soda. I came from an environment where the cops are on every corner and they harass you and they follow you and they kind of stalk you just to wait for you to see if you're going to do something. So you can't live like that. You just can't live like that. You can ask the question as long as it's not crazy. I like questions. That's funny. That is too funny. That's true. More like Wolf Island. But if you go to YouTube and you research, if you look up Niiji, Niiji, you'll know all about what I'm talking about when I say Niiji, our indigenous heritage. You'll find so much information on this topic because it's out there. It's just a hidden identity. Very, very much so hidden. Okay? Turtle Island, more like Wolf Island if you ask me, since the top dogs are just that wolves. Yeah, more like Vulture Island, more like just, I don't know, Ghetto Island. I work in a hospital and I have 1,800K. Is it the same for you? Euro. What do you do in the hospital? I don't work in the hospital. I actually have a dental practice, so it's 1 point. I don't know. Let me ask my friend ChatGPT. Let me translate this. What is 1,800K euro in American dollars? So it says, I don't know, 1 point. Hold on, let me see. Are you saying you make, I don't know if this calculation is right, 1.8 million euros is approximately 1.9 million US dollars. I don't think it's the same if that's what you're saying. Niiji sounds like a cute version of the N-word that rhymes with Tigger. So maybe they made Niiji into that word. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of history where the words were changed to be derogatory. I have 51 subscribers. Husky Dog 88 has almost 1,900. Awesome. You made a video based on Boondocks cartoon. Can I send you a link to the video? Nah, I don't want any links because I probably won't click them. I'm just going to be honest with you. A lot of scamming going on. Not that saying that you scamming, but I just do not click links. That's the dentist in me. Alright, guys. So I'm going to get off of here and go on and enjoy my Saturday. But thank you guys for chatting with me from Kick and from YouTube. So you say you make $203,000 in the hospital. But what is your job in the hospital? What do you do? Like, are you a doctor? A dentist? That's a lot. And I doubt they make that much here in the hospital. Unless they're like a surgeon. Like some type of surgeon would make that much. Anesthesiologist, they probably make a lot more than that. But 200,000, even as a dentist, it's kind of hard to even make that as an associate. 200,000, and then when they take the taxes, it's gonna drop you to about 150, because the taxes is what really rips people off here in America. The taxes are overwhelming. When I first started working as a dentist, say if my check as an associate was I just throw a number out there, $6,000, right? $6,000 every 2 weeks. By the time they take the taxes, it's down to about $3,500 or less. It's probably a little bit less, but that's, you know, so the taxes is outrageous. Comment below that video and tell him what you think. All right, guys, I'm do the preparation of a patient. If you can understand it, I do the preparation of a patient. I don't know what that means. Like, you like triage the patient, check them in. If you're talking about checking them in, then definitely that's the minimum wage here is way lower than that. And when you work in a hospital, it all depends on your job title. The person who's gonna make the most in the hospital, which is what I think you said $2,000.24. I don't know. My math is not good when it comes to translating how much you're saying you make versus here. You know. But triaging a patient, and if you make $2,000 a month, that might be kind of right. You might actually make a little bit more or maybe a little bit less. And I don't know if this comma is supposed to be a period, because if it's $2,000, then you might be kind of similar to what somebody would make here to prepare a patient. I kind of understand. I kind of don't understand. All right. So yeah, guys, I'm out of here. I will see you guys in the next video. Bring questions. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat. If you found this very useful, drop it in the chat. If you don't agree with something I said, or you feel like, dang, Dr. Shon, I feel like this, drop it in the chat. That's what healthy conversation is all about. It's not about, you know, spewing out hate. It's about spewing out knowledge, understanding, so that people can grow and, you know, have a better life. All right. So this is Dr. Cheek the Sunflower, and I'm out, guys. I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace.